So assignment A is not one of the questions that counts very much, and I've already done videos on this essay separately, and I'll move them over into the playlist so that you can see them. So I'm just going to speak kind of generally about this one and the next one. And remember that assignment A targets a particular domain, and if I can just bring this into your window, the domain that it targets is fluency. You're going to get a fluency question, and that's why it's really important for you to read over these content specifications. And if I were to scroll down to the fluency domain, which is right here, reading over all of the technical information that's here for competency 8, and I think that there is also competency 9, and just trying to think about short questions that might come from this, or being able to write statements or brief descriptions of what these mean will help you, because that's what they say they're going to test and likely what they're going to test. So you're going to draw probably a different question that was provided here, and you're only going to, again, have to produce between 75 and 125 words. I would always be skewing on the side of, or erring on the side of, more words than fewer. But that's just my suggestion. If you're curious about, how do I know where these questions come from, and wow, a new window just opened. Let me get rid of it. Well, that was a surprise. I'm shocked. It is here. If you take a look and you see domain 3, fluency, they tell you that is going to be one of the essays. And I went over this in the technical information, that this is assignment A. The other cheap short answer is this one, domain 4, on vocabulary. So what you're going to see then in this video is just a very, very brief review on fluency and vocabulary, because these essays don't count for very much, number one, and number two, I already did videos for them. So as I said, I'll move them into the playlist. Just so you can see, and go by the answer, this is assignment B, and as I told you, it's on vocabulary, and it's only 75 to 125 words. It's on assignment B. So be looking at this chart. It's on their site. You can download it. And you want to do so because you want to know what you're in for. First, you'll face a fluency question. Second, you're going to get a comprehension question. And then on the longer essays, you'll get something else. But again, these are essays I would probably be doing last. They don't count for as much as the other domains. I would do them, but I wouldn't agonize over them because it's not going to contribute much toward your score. To get a sense, again, of the content specifications on assignment B, you can see them right in here. If I scroll down to vocabulary, to the vocabulary domain, this domain 4, I believe. We scroll back to it. And sorry for the first draft theater of this video, but they don't make it easy to find stuff. So, part of it's my incompetence and the rest is their craftiness, I guess. Anyway, if you look then at the domains and the competencies that are presented for vocabulary, I would definitely review them and really get familiar with them, because you'll be getting a question that's going to be hitting one of these areas in here, even though these essays, again, don't count for as much. So let's get past these short answers quickly, and you can watch the longer videos on this subject, on the subject of these two essays after just this general overview. And here the domain A fluency question is about: a second grade teacher frequently uses the following strategy when working with struggling readers who are performing below the second grade fluency benchmark. Get my highlighter working here, since that's often fun and helpful. The teacher selects a variety of supplementary texts that use controlled vocabulary. In other words, nearly all the words are high-frequency sight words or easily decodable words. The teacher then has the students read the essays aloud quietly to themselves over a period of days as the teacher monitors their reading. The teacher then has the students read these texts aloud quietly. Sorry if I neglected to put in the word aloud. So they're reading aloud for their teacher. And what is it that you have to do? Well, the question is structured as follows. So you probably won't get this one on the test, but you're going to get something like it. So again, look over those content specifications so you have some idea of what you're in for. But this is what it does. It asks you maybe to justify what this teacher is doing, or maybe explain a procedure. Maybe it's a procedural essay or a justification essay, one of the two. And here they told you what the teacher is going to do. This is all telling you what this teacher is going to do, and now your job is to explain and justify why the teacher would do it. So they want you to identify the aspect of fluency that the teacher is targeting: accuracy, reading rate, or prosody. And then they want you to explain how this promotes the development of fluency. And you have only 75 to 125 words in which to do it. So let's take a look at what they say is a good response to this question. It says, this instructional strategy primarily helps students reading rate. Now, why is that? Well, reading aloud is what you're going to do to see how quickly the student maybe is getting through the text. The selected texts help support development of reading rate because they use controlled vocabulary, primarily easily decodable words and high-frequency sight words. Research shows that reading text with high readability is more effective in enhancing the reading rate than when readability is not controlled. So let me pause. You would expect a student maybe who is reading these books and reading at an independent level not to be so focused on accuracy. That's why it's a controlled vocabulary. You're trying to find things that the student can do, and you're just trying to get that rate to become faster. This isn't a test of accuracy. Well, it is. I mean, you are going to see if they can do it, but you're assuming they can do it. So repeated reading, especially of familiar text, is supposed to increase speed, reading rate. If it were going to be developing something like prosody, then that would have to be, something that's going to force them to read with expression and understand what the punctuation means and everything else. The strategy also promotes reading rate because the teacher selects a variety of texts and has the student read them over a period of days. So again, repeated reading, that's what this is. That should be a tip-off. That's for speed. This provides students with a repeated practice reading the same words in a variety of contexts, which helps them build their automatic recognition of the words. Automaticity in word recognition is essential for developing reading rate, which enhances fluency. They even give you a little clue about why it's good, and let me read it to you. This assignment assesses competencies in Domain 3. Aha, once again, I told you that. When you look at the structure of the test, you can see Domain 3 has an essay, and it does. The response fulfills the purpose of the assignment by identifying aspects of fluency, reading rate, that this instructional strategy primarily develops, and explaining how the strategy promotes this aspect of fluency. The response reflects an accurate understanding of fluency through its discussion of the role of appropriate text in supporting development of reading rate and the importance of building automaticity to enhance the reading rate and fluency. Support for the writer's argument is found in a clear explanation of factors that enhance reading rate, automaticity of word recognition, etc. So if you take a look again, then fluency was the subject, and 75 to 125 words is what you do. The next question we're going to see on these cheap ones is going to be on vocabulary, and I'll show that to you right now. In looking at this question, this is assignment B. Again, 75 to 125 words. It's kind of a cheap and short question. I'd be nailing the case study if I were you, rather than wasting my time on these short questions. You're going to do them, of course, and you're going to do a journey person's job on them. You are, but really, why burn out on them? Why not get to the case study first? Sorry for the digression. So here we have assignment B that deals with vocabulary, and it says, prior to having students read a textbook chapter on tree classification, a fifth grade teacher divides students into small groups and gives each group a set of labeled photographs and diagrams of a particular type of tree. In this case, they're pines, with each group focusing on a different type of tree. The students examine their photographs and diagrams, write down as many characteristics as they can about their assigned tree, and then present their findings to the whole class. As students share their ideas, the teacher writes the words and phrases on the board. Pine trees, what are they? They have cones, have needles. The needles grow in clusters. The needles are green in both summer and winter photographs. And also introduces new terminology. Trees that have cones are called conifers. The teacher then conducts a guided whole class discussion during which the students identify characteristics shared by more than one type of tree. For example, having cones. And sort the trees by their characteristics. Conifers are pines, firs, hemlocks, spruces, cedars, and larches. Don't forget the larch. What do you have to do in this one? Again, this is like a justification essay. You might get a procedural essay that would ask you what you would do with certain kinds of vocabulary. And if you're wondering what you would do, you're looking at it. Do this. Describe that. Really try to memorize as much as you can on the test so that you can kind of have the essays roll off the end of your pen if you need to. So using your knowledge of reading instruction, write a response in which you, this is like 1, describe how the teacher can effectively differentiate instruction with respect to this activity in order to address the needs of the students in the class. So what procedure would you use to differentiate instruction? That's really what this is asking you for. It's asking you for a procedure for differentiation. We'll look at what it is that they value. And then they want you to explain why the instructional strategy you developed would be effective in addressing the needs of these students and promoting their, well, look, it's really easy. You just have to justify why this differentiated instruction method would work. So you first tell them what you're going to do for differentiation, and then you're going to tell them why. You're going to justify it. So look at the essay that they provide here. It's very short, but in a justification essay, you're going to tell them what you would do and then why you would do it. So look, since the activity in the textbook chapters require knowledge of vocabulary that's not often used in everyday speech, cones, needles, clustered, and will likely be unfamiliar to English learners, the teacher should lead a discussion with them beforehand in which the teacher uses visuals, photographs, diagrams to 1, identify and activate their related background knowledge, and 2, explicitly teach the more basic but essential academic vocabulary they'll need to complete the activity and comprehend the textbook chapter successfully. The teacher should reinforce new vocabulary by having English learners enter the words into their science notebooks along with notes and drawings about the word meaning. So all of this here, if you look, when you write it, you're going to be writing out a procedure for things that the teacher should be doing. And that's what the bulk of the first part of this essay does. It's spent on explaining how somebody would do something, and it's something that a teacher could actually do. Notice the very direct writing. Notice the points that are used that are almost steps in the activity. 1, identify and activate their background knowledge, and 2, explicitly teach. You can see 1 and 2 right here. Very helpful. Remember, there were 2 bullets that we had to deal with. If I can scroll back to it for a second, you can see that we've taken care of the first part of the essay. Now we need to nail this one. If you look, that's handled in the balance of the essay right here. This strategy would be effective in addressing the needs of English learners because it uses visuals to support their understanding and activate their background knowledge, explicitly teaches essential vocabulary to support their learning and reading, and reinforces vocabulary through discussion. So these are not very long essays, but they are quite dense with information. So that's why I'm advocating that you look at the structure of the test and you go through, for example, Domain 4, and look at what the specifications are in here. I just happened to see this where it says Matthew effect. If you don't know what that is, go Google it and learn about it and learn how to try to reverse that particular trend. But in this question, then, we have all procedure here. Then right here we have justification, and that's what makes a winning essay for these people. Let's take a look at some of the other notes in here that you may not have read if you downloaded the test. It says this assignment assesses competencies in Domain 4, and as I told you, in here, in the structure of the test, that's how I knew it. It's by looking at this chart that I get that information. The response fulfills the purpose of the assignment by describing an effective strategy for differentiating instruction for the target students and explaining why the strategy would be effective in addressing their needs. The response reflects an accurate understanding of vocabulary development and effective strategies for differentiating vocabulary instruction for English learners. Support for the writer's argument is found in a clear explanation of the types of words that should be the focus of the differentiated lesson and how best to teach these words in support of the student's reading. So really, breaking this thing apart and looking at it is, I think, a very good idea. If you can try to think of a close activity for your own self that you would do, just so that you know the structure of it, like providing an outline to it, it would really be helpful. I scribbled a book that explains how to do that, so maybe you want to get it and review it. Even though it's 10 years old, students still tell me that it's useful, so maybe it will be to you too. Let's look at the important note about Assignment B, Domain 4. Oh, man, these guys make things so clear and easy, don't they? The examinee task in Assignment B may ask candidates to describe a strategy for differentiating the given activity for students in the class who are advanced learners, struggling readers, English learners, or students with special needs, a student with a learning disability. A successful response to Assignment B will reflect an understanding of strategies that are appropriate for differentiating reading instruction for the specific group of students identified in the task. They give you some more information, and here are their definition for advanced learners, for example. Since Assignment B assesses competencies in Domain 4, the term advanced learners in this examinee task refers to students who are advanced in vocabulary, academic language, and or background knowledge, while the term struggling readers refers to students who are experiencing difficulty learning to read because they lack prerequisite knowledge and skills in vocabulary, academic language, and or background knowledge. So reading all this stuff, very important. Understanding what it means, even more important, as you can imagine. And then learning the structure of these responses, also very helpful. So before I go into the other essays, let me just kind of recap very briefly. Looking at the content specifications and trying to anticipate questions is really essential. So is looking at the structure of the test. The next essay that I'm going to go over will be one of the big ones. I'm going to go over word analysis next, then I'll do comprehension. Last, I'll do the case study. Okay? Happy studying.